I also just want to preface that just because something happened years ago, and just because at the time you might have said okay or you agreed to something, but then later on you look back and you realize that that's not okay, and that you tried to pull away, you tried to stop it, but it continued, that is abuse, that is assault. Hi friends, it's Allie. So today I wanted to tell you a story about how I was abused by my ex-boyfriend while I was in high school. This video might be very long and it is hard for me to talk about, but I, with everything on my channel, want to raise awareness to things that have happened in my past and the abuse that I have endured. At any point in this video, if I smile or I kind of laugh, that's how I handle uncomfortable situations. I'm not meaning to make any of this a joke. I'm not meaning to make light of any of this. Also, before I get into this video, I just want to mention that I do have a stutter, so if I talk differently, that is why. I wrote down notes for this story because I tried to record this a couple times before and I felt like my timeline was mixed up, and I want everything as in order as I can remember it. I want to put a trigger warning for abuse. If you are currently going through an abusive situation, or if you have a hard time hearing about abuse, whether that be sexual abuse, verbal abuse, mental, emotional manipulation, and gaslighting, please be aware that I will be talking about those topics today, and if you choose not to watch this video, please do not. I don't want anybody to come away from this video with anxiety, and I don't want anybody to be triggered by this video. So if those are topics that are hard for you to talk about or to listen to, I would refrain you from watching this video. I just have to also make sure I'm being very open and clear when I say that this is my story. And it does not matter if it happened 10 years ago. This is my story, and I deserve to be heard, and I deserve to tell my story. Let's take it back 10 years to when I was at the end of my junior year going into my senior year. I was 17 going to be 18 later in that year. And the boy that I had met, I'm not going to name, I'm not going to put any initials. I am just going to say him or he, or refer to him as my ex-boyfriend, because I don't care to identify this person in the slightest. I had met this person online through Facebook, and I knew that he went to my school, and I had saw him around a couple times and I thought he was attractive, and so I had added him online. He was a year younger than me, so if I'm 17 at the time, he's gonna be 16. We just casually started talking, and I had already felt an immediate attraction to this person. I have attachment anxiety style, and I have an addictive personality that often makes me obsess over a lot of things, and that includes people and relationships. Right off the bat, me and this person, we were talking for a couple weeks, and I had a girl that I went to school with. She had noticed this, and she warned me to be careful with this person because he wasn't doing the best things. He was smoking, he was kind of hanging around like different people that maybe weren't the best, and she warned me of all of this. And of course, because I didn't want to hear that the person that I liked was a bad person right off the bat, so I just dismissed it, and I told him about it, and of course he had nothing but negative things to say about her, and he got very, very defensive, and that should have been a notice to me right then that if this person's getting very, very defensive, maybe it's something to look into. I didn't, because I wanted to be with this person, and I just looked past it. This person started to woo me in ways of like writing me love letters and writing me poetry, just saying all the right things, you know, like to get me to be with them. And very early on, he made mention of this girl that he knew from a different state was over, and how her and her sister and them were all hanging out. He made light of this, but it would later come out that this was a very significant piece to the story. I'll tell you why that is later. And then we decided to go on our first date, and we went bowling, and then we went to a park afterwards, and this person's brother had called them freaking out in the middle of our little date, and he said, "You did not pay for bowling. You left." And the guy is like freaking out. He's pissed that like you just left, you did not pay for your game or games. I don't remember how many we played, probably 2 or 3. That should have been another first red flag for me that, And instead of a normal response where this person would have been like, "Oh my God, like, shit, like, let me go apologize, let me go pay," he instead shrugged it off and he said, "Well, looks like we got away with a free game," and didn't make a big deal out of it. He was so cool with the fact that he just got away without paying for a game. That should have been my first inclination that something might not be 100% right. But also, I was uncomfortable, and again, I laughed it off with him, and I thought maybe he was trying to be cool. And then the next thing that I found was odd was when we officially started dating, he made mention to how he turned on my notifications and all my updates on Facebook. I did not know you could do this at the time, but whatever I posted or whatever I did online, he could view. He could see when I posted status updates. He could see when I posted like picture updates. I'm pretty sure he could see when I accepted a new request. I think he could also see what I liked on Facebook too. He just kept a log of everything I did online, and that should have also been another red flag. But again, I was so young and wanted to be in a relationship, and I wanted to be with this person that I thought it was romantic, and I thought that this was normal. And I think I even decided to turn on his notifications. I don't quite remember if I did, but I just remember that's something that he did. And also, he had a jailbroken iPhone. And so he could do all sorts of things that you could not do on a regular iPhone. That will also come into detail later. He could hide whatever he wanted and I would have no idea. And then the next thing that I found really strange was, obviously there's going to be talk about ex-girlfriends, ex-boyfriends, but he took it to the extreme. And most importantly, him and his mom always took it to the extreme. Once I started going over to his house and started to meet his mom and his family, they just started to talk nonstop about his ex-girlfriend. And normally it's, like I said, it's normal to mention things that happened in your past relationship, but then you normally move on from that. You know, you don't let it be a continuous topic of conversation, but they always talked about them. And it became more of like a game to them and almost like an obsession for them to continuously talk about her. And he would make up lies and he would make up stories about like what they did intimately and how she did things so wrong and how she would hurt him intimately. And it's just like, those are details I don't really care to know, but I will soon come to find out that that's all this person cares about is intimacy or a lack thereof. This happened later on in the timeline of events, but I just wanted to mention it really quick because we're on the topic of his ex-girlfriend. So his ex-girlfriend and I actually had a class together, and she would go out of her way to be by me in this class, and she would try to talk to me, and she would try to insert herself into my life, and I was being told all of these things about her that They were manipulating me into hating this person that I did not even know. I just didn't like her because it was an ex-girlfriend of his, and I thought she was trying to weasel her way into my life to talk about him or to be in his new girlfriend's life, you know, because maybe this ex-girlfriend wasn't over him, type of weird dynamic. And so I ignored her for the most part. There were a couple times where if she would be outright rude to me for no reason, I would stick up for myself, but the majority of the time I would just ignore her. It's either I'm gonna stick up for myself or I'm just gonna ignore you, you know, because I just don't want to deal with it. My ex-boyfriend went to youth group. We were both raised religious and we both went to youth group. We were all in a band together. He played guitar, I sang, and his ex-girlfriend sang in the youth group band right beside me. And I remember how uncomfortable that was, but in a weird way, it kind of bonded us just when we were at youth group. Other than that, I just didn't really want to deal with her, but because, I don't know, maybe it was just the atmosphere, you know, it's like you're at church, kind of, and you want to get along with the people you're at church with. You don't want to be a dick, so I don't know. I remember one night, the ex-girlfriend's mom came up to me and she was freaking the fuck out at me because I guess his ex-girlfriend had talked about me and how I ignored her and how I just didn't really want anything to do with her. And her mom didn't like that for some reason. And her mom like freaked out at me. Why don't you like my daughter? What did she ever do to you to make you ignore her? She only ever says hi to you. You can't say hi back. Just freaking out at me to the point where she asked me for my phone number. I didn't have a cell phone at the time, and if I did, it was my mom's phone that she made me carry around. This person freaked me out to the point where I gave them my home phone. I should not have done that. I should just have left and walked away, but she was so crazy and I was so scared. I'm like, oh my god, I have to obey this adult. Like, she's freaking out at me, and she's an adult, so she must need my phone number. But she called my mom and she said some bullshit story about your daughter's harassing my daughter. No, that's not true at all. If anything, it's the opposite. But I couldn't go to youth group anymore because my mom said no more youth group. Like, it's just not what we're doing. And I was mad, I was upset, I wanted to go to youth group, but I couldn't go anymore. And that was just that was that. I thought that this bonded me and my ex-boyfriend in a weird way because like he stuck up for me and he like grabbed me by my arm and he was like, come on, let's go, and like, we're not staying, and drove me home, and his ex-girlfriend and her mom, or it was just all a game to him. And then there were little times where I would notice things where he would be texting that girl I mentioned that had been visiting him the beginning of our relationship. Him and her would text all the time. They would like do rap battles together, and they would make inside jokes together, and they were like a bit too close for comfort, you know. I can understand if my boyfriend, if Garrett now wants to have a girl BFF, go ahead, within reason, you know. You're not gonna literally be flirting in plain day and then say, oh no, we're just friends, we're just really close, we've known each other forever, blah blah blah. Also, side note, this girl that he was texting from another state was a model. She was like this small like amateur model, but needless to say, she was a model and she was gorgeous. And I was like, oh, that just knocked me down a peg, because I'm like already insecure and I'm just like, oh my god, what is he doing with me when he has this model friend that he could be with? But I digress. The more we were together, the more we started to like be more intimate. Nothing crazy ever happened. It was always casual making out, casual touching like over the clothes, even though I didn't really feel too comfortable with that, like because I was raised Catholic, I had a purity ring, and I just wanted to be as pure as possible, and I wanted to wait for the right person, or I wanted to wait till marriage to fully be intimate with a person. And like once a certain point, I just like stopped everything because I just wasn't comfortable, and I just felt like, all right, like I'm good, you know, with what we've been doing. But he didn't really like that too much. He went as far as to, without us really having a discussion about it, he just wanted to prove a point, because he was talking about us having sex, and he was like, you know, my parents wouldn't even care. I can ask my mom right now and she wouldn't even care. He went as far as to bring his mom up, because this is the thing. He didn't really talk to his dad much. Like, him and his dad did not have a good relationship. Him and his mom had a close relationship, but that was mostly because his parents, I'll just say they drank a lot, and he was closer with his mom. He brought her upstairs and he literally asked her, Mom, would you care if me and Allie had sex up here in my room while you were home? She said, no, I wouldn't care as long as your mom's okay with it, Allie. What? Why are we even having this discussion? This is so fucking awkward. Like, we're not even that close. We're not even there yet. Like, I don't feel that comfortable with you yet to like even have this discussion, let alone with your mom. So weird. So that conversation happened and I felt really fucking weird. I don't know if I ended up telling my mom. If I did, my mom would have been like, what the fuck? That's really weird. That's really uncomfortable. And there were small things that I would notice too, where whenever I would come over, he would always have to change his clothes, always have to brush his teeth. He was really spaced out a couple times, and like it didn't click to me that, oh, this fucker is stoned. Oh, he has to change his clothes, he has to brush his teeth because he's smoking and he doesn't want me to know. But he was really stoned a couple times, and I had never been around anybody that was stoned, so I had no idea. I just thought he was really out of it. I thought he was really tired. No, he was stoned. You could clearly tell, and looking back, I'm like, Ellie, how naive can you be? Really? But he would always make comments like, ugh, my breath doesn't smell that good. Like, my mouth tastes bad. I have to go brush my teeth. And he would make comments about like knowing how to smoke, but oh no, I never did it. Or he would randomly make comments about how to get the smell out of your mouth, and he went as far as telling me that him and his friend that I will mention later on would go out in the woods and would eat dirt to get the smell out of their mouth. And I'm like thinking, why is he telling me this if he doesn't smoke? 'Cause he did. And then the more and more we were together, the more obviously the intimacy stuff was a big problem, and all he cared about was wanting to be intimate. And he would always get so upset if like I stopped it. Like if we would get to to a certain point and I would stop it, he would either roll over and ignore me, he would pretend like he was sleeping to ignore me. He would just ice me out and give me this silent treatment, manipulating me into feeling bad for him that I had to stop what we were doing. Manipulating me into feeling like I was a bad person for not going that extra step. There was one time where he thought it was okay to just pull down his pants and just show me his private parts. And I remember this was because I had made a mention or a comment that I wouldn't even know what to do because I don't know what it looks like. And so he randomly one day just pulled down his pants and he flashed me, and I was just like, oh my God. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna pull up your pants. I kind of laughed it off because again, I was uncomfortable, and that's how I handle awkward situations like right now, is I laugh because I'm just like, how dare you just do something that I was not okay with, you know, like that I did not say I wanted to see. And then slowly but surely things started to turn when he started to tell me to block people on Facebook who were trying to add me. I had a class with this one person. We sat next to each other every day. He wanted to add me on Facebook, and I can't remember if I told my ex-boyfriend about this or if he saw because he had my updates on, but either way, he would get increasingly angry and tell me to block this person. Block them right now or we're done. And again, because I wanted to be with this person and I wasn't realizing that none of this behavior was okay, I thought it was normal that I blocked this person. Allie, come on, how embarrassing is that? And then there was some times when I would post some things, you know, back in the day, like back in 2011, 2012, there were these statuses with like little check boxes by them, and it had like, X this box if you want to talk, X this box if you've ever thought I was cute, X this box if you want to hug me, X this box if you're my friend, just stupid things like that. Well, I had posted one of those, and I remember one of the boxes was like, oh, check this box if you've ever wanted to kiss me, or if you do want to kiss me. And I didn't think anything of it just because it was a stupid repost. I didn't think I had to edit what I posted online, but my ex-boyfriend saw it and he screamed at me. My sister, and again, this is not funny, I'm just uncomfortable. My sister was in the room and she was like, is he really talking to you like that? She goes, I can hear him and you're letting him talk to you like that? Like, she goes, come on, Allie, you know? And I was like, really not that big of a deal. And he was freaking out. He was like, oh yeah, just saying that you want people to kiss you? Really, Allie? You don't see anything wrong with that? He was just like freaking the fuck out at me, again, threatening, if you don't delete it, then we're done. And I remember I like had to go in and I had to edit my post to remove that part of it, or I had to just delete the whole post because he didn't like it. And this is not something I had on my list, but it just came to my brain, again, revolving around what the fuck I post online. I posted a picture, and if I can find it, I will put it right here. But I was wearing his hoodie and I was wearing a t-shirt and some shorts. Regardless, they were little short booty shorts, but whatever, like I look good, you know? So I posted this picture. I was wearing my cute little shorts and he made a comment about that again on my post. Like, he was saying, I don't remember what he was saying, but he made some comment about like, oh yeah, those shorts are pretty short. Like, oh, you really have to wear those short shorts? It's like, I'm wearing your hoodie in this picture too. Like, shouldn't that be enough? Slowly, he was trying to manipulate me and trying to change everything I did and trying to dock me for everything. We just started to fight all the time. Again, it was over intimate stuff because I either didn't want to or I would stop it, or he would always want me to touch him and I just did not feel comfortable. Like, sure, I would touch him like over his clothes, but I would never go like underneath his clothes and like bare skin. Like, I never felt comfortable. Like, that was off limits for me. And he always had a problem with that. He was like, well, you can touch me over my clothes, but you can't touch me under. Why? And he would just make a such a big deal about it. And it's like, because that's my boundary. Like, don't you understand that? But again, I didn't know what boundaries were back then. And I wanted to be with this person still because I was just so brainwashed and gaslit and manipulated that I thought this was okay. And it wasn't okay. I just remember he was playing his guitar and he was doing one of those things where he was like ignoring me while playing. And I remember I like covered the keys really quick and I was like, or I covered the strings and I said, hey, can we talk? And he got really like weird and he was like, I just want to have sex. I just want to have sex, Allie. That's all. I just want to have sex. And I'm like, that can't be the only thing on your fucking mind. Like, grow up. And I remember I was like, well, that's not happening. You know, we're not even there yet. Like, I don't even know if I can, because again, I had problems with even trying to insert a tampon, and I made a whole video about that, but I wouldn't have even been able to have sex even if I wanted to. And it's scary for me to think what would have happened if I agreed to this and we tried and we couldn't. I don't know what would have happened, but I know that it wouldn't have been good. Somewhere along the lines, he just tells me to go downstairs. He wants to be left alone. He wants to cool off. I go downstairs. I hang out with his siblings, and then after, I don't know, maybe like 10-15 minutes, I go back upstairs to see his bedroom door is shut, and all my stuff that I brought over to his house was on the floor outside of his bedroom. And it wasn't like nicely put out there, it was just like on the floor. Can't remember if I knocked on the door first or if I just opened the door, but I remember I opened the door and I was like, why is your door shut? Why is my stuff on the ground? He was like, did I say you could come in? I was like, what? No, but like, I shouldn't have to have your permission to come back in. Like, I'm your girlfriend. Like, I should be able to come. Like, I'm at your fucking house. Like, I'm not gonna stay downstairs the whole time. I remember his back was to the door, but like, he turned around, he looked at me like this, and he was like, did I tell you to come back in? I was like, no, you didn't, but like, I'm already here, so I'm not just gonna sit downstairs, as if he was trying to like say like, oh, I didn't give you permission, so you should stay where I told you to go. You know, if that wasn't bad enough, we had another fight. I just got goosebumps. We had another fight and he freaked out and he took his elbow and he smashed it against the wall behind him. And as he was doing that, he said, God damn it, Allie. And as he smashed his elbow into his wall, he cracked his wall. And I remember calling my mom immediately, and I was crying and telling her what happened. And she said, either he drives you home right now or else I'm coming to get you. She goes, I don't care, you are not staying there any longer. And so I told him, I'm like, all right, we have to go. After all of this, I still stayed. After all of this, I still told myself, oh, this is normal. And honestly, I don't know if it's because these were the types of books that I read too, that I thought maybe this was how relationships were supposed to be, because I had read those types of relationships. Obviously, the relationships in the books were a bit more extreme. And I do want to mention that he never actually hit me. He never physically hurt me like that. It was always manipulating, gaslighting, verbal abuse, emotional, mental abuse. There were also times where him and my brother would get into random arguments. I'm not really gonna go into full detail about that, but like, it wasn't ever like between them. It was just like my brother was upset about an outside issue and he kind of took it out on my ex-boyfriend. My ex-boyfriend was just like, I don't fucking deal with that. I don't like that. I don't like when people treat me like that, like totally disregard me like that. Like, fuck off, calm down. You need to get your family in check. Like, as if your family's fucking any better, calm down. He's like, I don't like drinking, but like, your family does it all the time, and you probably do it all the time. Like, calm the fuck down. Again, trying to spin everything to be about him, because he was a fucking narcissist. There was a person, we'll call her Ariel. I was an acquaintance with Ariel, and I occasionally talked to her in school. I talked to her online a little bit, and like, I thought she was really cool, even though she was a freshman and I was a senior. You know, I always kind of tended to look out for like the younger grades. Like, I was like, oh, I can look out for you, you know, whatever. She was 14. I had been talking to her one time and he came up and they briefly met. Like, oh, hey, this is my boyfriend. Oh, hey, this is Ariel. And I thought that was it. Apparently, she also hung out with a guy that he hung out with, and they all hung out together one time at school, I'm guessing, and he would always talk about how cool she was. Oh, she's really cool. Oh yeah, I really like her. Oh yeah, she's laid back, you know, whatever. Didn't think anything of it. Didn't think anything crazy until his birthday. And this is the part in the story that is very hard for me to talk about. It is very uncomfortable for me to relive and to retell, but it's important to get this part of my story across. I was 18 at the time, and also, just really quick, I had my birthday. He gave me earrings, but I'm like, dude, I don't have my ears pierced. Like, shows how much you really know me, you know? Came around to his birthday, so I had turned 18, and then like right after, a couple months later, he had turned 17. We drove home from school and went to his house, and immediately he wanted us to go up to his room, and he wanted me to be intimate with him. And I expressed that I didn't feel comfortable because it was his birthday, and I knew that he had his guys coming over and that we were gonna hang out. I don't know if anybody was home at the time, but I remember he kept using, oh, it's my birthday, come on, we only have 20 minutes, come on, let's do it. Come on, I just really want you to give me a hand job for my birthday. That'd be the best present. Come on, it's my birthday. Come on, we only have 20 minutes. And then come on, we only have 15 minutes. So come on, come on. Come on, the guys are gonna be here soon. Come on, it's my birthday. Just kept using that over and over and over. And as twisted as my brain was, I thought, I don't want to do this. I'm not comfortable with this, but if I do this, it will bring us closer together. It will make the fighting stop. It will make him want to be with me and appreciate me. It'll bring us closer because this is something that he has been wanting for such a long time, and I've been always denying him. And it's just like, you're denying him for a reason, Allie. You're not ready, and he's making you do this when you're not ready. And so it got down to the 10-minute mark, and he said, come on, we only have 10 minutes. Like, my friends are gonna be here, come on. Like, let's just do it really quick. And so it first started off with him saying, oh, I'll just teach you how to do it. Like, I'll just show you how to do it. And so against my better judgment, I agreed at first, and I just wanted us to be closer. I just wanted the fighting to stop. And so I said, okay, I don't know what I'm doing though. And so he's like, oh, I'll teach you. And so he pulls down his pants and tells me to put my hand there, and he covers my hand with his. And he slowly starts to show me what to do, and I remember I like pulled my hand away because I just didn't like it. I didn't feel comfortable. I was grossed out by how it looked, how it felt. I just didn't like it. He's like, oh, come on, like, you're already doing it, you already touched it, come on, like, let's just do it. So just wanting it to be over, I kept just thinking in my head, like, it'll be over soon, you know, it'll be over soon. And so he started to, you know, do it again with my hand, but it was basically only him doing everything, just grasping my hand. And I just get so disgusted at the fact that I just didn't stop it again. You know, I just let it continue, and I'm not blaming myself. I'm just saying what happened. I remember like his facial expressions, and it's just, I had a visceral reaction to it, and it wasn't a good time for me. I didn't feel comfortable. I hated it. And I remember he just like kept going, and when he was getting close to being done, I just like, my hand was limp, you know, my hand was just like this, like basically, and he was just doing all the work, and like he was basically like doing everything. And he gets done, and it's just disgusting, and it's just everywhere. And I just remember feeling relieved because I was like, okay, good. You know what? We finally did it. We're done. I don't have to do it anymore. And I remember he cleaned up and we went about our day. And then his buddies came over and he told me to stay inside while they went outside, and they like went out in the woods. I don't remember too much after that. Like, I don't remember if we did cake or I don't remember what we did, but I just remember after everybody went home, I went back upstairs with him, and like I was laying down and he was texting the whole day. And I thought he was just replying to people saying happy birthday. You know, how convenient. This is the day that he would be getting a lot of texts, you know? But I remember laying down and he was texting. I pretended like I was gonna tickle him or something, and he was like texting like this, and he was like anytime I would like look over, he'd be like hiding. And I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna look, I'm just messing with you. I looked, he was texting the 14-year-old. I was like, why are you texting her? And he made a big old story about, oh yeah, you know, my friend that like hung out with us like at school that one time, yeah, like he's just using her phone, like his phone broke and he's just using her phone. And then he like switched it up and said, oh yeah, but like it's not him anymore, like he was using her phone, but now like she's just talking to me and like she's saying happy birthday. And you know, I think he made up some story about, oh yeah, like she's talking about her mom and I'm like trying to help her through that, and weird things like that, you know, that like wasn't believable at all. And I remember I to school next day, and like I seen her and I was gonna ask her like, what the fuck? And she was like weaving in and out of lunchroom tables, and I was weaving in and out of them back, catching up to her. And I'm like, hey dude, what's going on? I saw you guys texting. And she just gave me some bullshit story. At first it was like, oh yeah, I was just saying happy birthday. I was like, oh well, yeah, well he said this person was actually using your phone. Oh yeah, that's right, you know, that's right. And then yeah, you know, what did he tell you? And then she was like collaborating what he told me. Oh yeah, that's correct. No it's not, dummy. Anytime that like he would see her, he would get super excited. Like he'd be like, hey, what's up? Like, come on, this isn't normal behavior, really. There were some times at lunch where we would be hanging out and I would ask him for some food because I had really only ate like a Pop-Tart in the morning, and then I basically didn't eat from like 8 a.m. till I got out of school and got home around like 3. So I would always like skip lunch for some reason. I just didn't have lunch money, or I would just ask like, hey, can I have a piece of that? He would always get so angry. He'd be like, no, this is my food. Can't you see I'm eating? Can't you see I'm hungry? This is my food. Go get your own. Total disregard for me, you know? I'm just like thinking back on this at this point, and I'm like, I'm just convinced like he was being a dick so that I'll break up with him, you know? We'd always spend our whole lunch together, but then there would always be times like towards the end of our relationship, towards just after I was forced to give him that hand job, and after we just would always fight. And that didn't make things better, by the way. He just always wanted to do more and I would never be comfortable with it. But he started to leave lunch like half an hour early, and come to find out it was because he was always going with her. A girl that I used to talk to in high school would come up to me and say, hey, I just seen them hugging. Like, not like a normal like, oh hey, what's up, you know? No, like arms intertwined, like her looking up at him like so lovingly and him hugging her. And bitch, she's 14. Like, I understand age difference is a little bit different because he was 17 and she was 14, but still 14, she's still a child. He one time like would leave for lunch and I would just be standing there alone, like what the fuck. He'd always be like, oh yeah, I'll be right back, but he'd be gone for like half an hour. And towards the end of lunch, I saw her walk in, and then 2 minutes later I saw him walk in, and I'm like, what were you doing? And he got so defensive. He called me crazy. He said, you know what, you're acting like my ex-girlfriend right now. And he just like made me seem crazy. He said that he wasn't doing anything, that like I was just being paranoid. And of course, that's what they're always gonna tell you when they're doing stuff, you know? I remember I one time made some comment about her being a child and like how young she was, and how like just made some comment about this girl, this 14-year-old, he was like, oh, you know what, Ellie, I can't believe you're talking about a child like that. I can't believe that. You know what? I told my mom what you said. My mom's really disappointed in you. My mom didn't think that of you. My mom didn't think that you would have that type of behavior. You know, my mom's really disappointed. And like, he knew how close I was with his mom. Just throw that back at me in another way to make me feel crazy, to disguise what he was really doing, is just disgusting. Again, more manipulation. And then there was another time when he came over crying and he's like, I promise I'm not doing anything. I promise I love you. I promise, like, I swear on this person's grave, I love you. I would never do it. I would never do that. I would never hurt you. Literally crying, convincing me that he was not cheating on me. All lies. Then there was one time when I passed this girl in the hallway and we were just talking and I was really upset and I was like, dude, I don't know what to do. You know, my boyfriend's talking to this girl and she's like, oh yeah, I have class with her. Oh yeah, I saw their texts. They were saying I love you already. They were saying how much they wanted to be together and that he was saying if he wasn't with you, he'd be with her. A 14-year-old. I went to class and I was so disgusted, and he came to my classroom and he's like, hey, and I confronted him about it, and he then admitting to cheating. He admitted to everything, or so I thought, but he admitted to, yes, that he had feelings for her and that he had cheated on me. I got so upset, and I remember telling him, like, you tell your mom what you did, because, oh, she's so disappointed in me. How about you tell her what you did? How about you tell her what her precious little boy did? You tell your mom how you are a disappointment. Like, I was so fucking done. I was disappointed in myself, you know, for trusting this person, to being made to give him a hand job, being sexually assaulted, and being made to do this when I didn't want to, all for him to have already been cheating on me. That was it. I remember I packed up everything that he gave me. I packed up just letters and poems and the fucking stupid earrings I hung on to, and like the jewelry and like his hoodies, and I threw them all in the trash bag and I stuffed it in our locker. It didn't even close, but I stuffed it because my locker wasn't working and I shared a locker with him because I just want to be one of those girls that share a locker with her boyfriend. Ugly. He had to carry it out. It was ripping too, because there was that much stuff. It was ripping, and he had to carry that all throughout the hallway, all throughout the school cafeteria, and I laughed and I said, how does it feel, cheater? Like, I just did not have any mercy. I really didn't. I fucking called him out on his bullshit. I was over it. Fast forward. Remember that friend that I mentioned? How he was talking about, oh yeah, me and my buddy always go out and like fucking, he taught me like to eat dirt to get rid of the smell of smoke on my mouth. Yeah, well, that friend and I became very close. There was one point where like I kind of liked his friend for a little bit, and he liked me. And he told me everything. He said he was not only cheating on you that one time with that 14-year-old, he was cheating on you with that girl from another state. When he mentioned that they were just visiting and hanging out, yeah, he made out with her in their shed. In a back shed somewhere. They just made out. And he said he had hidden pictures of naked porn, naked girls on his phone. Remember when I said he could hide stuff on his phone? Yeah, he had hidden documents and folders of porn and girls. He would have phone sex with this girl from a different state. If someone would call him and it would be one of the girls that like he was having phone sex with, he would pretend it was for his friend. And his friend would answer the phone and be like, oh hey, yeah, what's up? And like he would pretend like it was for his friend, but really it was for him. He was smoking all the time. We would make plans to hang out. He would always make me wait hours and hours on end for him because he was getting high. He just told me everything. And then, cherry on top. Remember that one day when I said that he went out for lunch, and I seen the 14-year-old walk in and I seen him walk in? Turns out he was making out with her in his car. He cheated on me the whole entire relationship, and he cheated on me with the 14-year-old. He also told me that the poems and all the love letters that he would write me, his friend was the one writing them. So he plagiarized all of his poetry to tell me that it was his, that he wrote it. Just to woo me, just to love bomb me. Yeah, not okay. Me and his buddy, like I said, we were close for a little bit. We liked each other for a little bit, but then we just were really, really close for years after that. And then we just kind of fell apart and don't talk anymore. A couple years after everything had happened with him, I was still in denial. I did not know what happened to me. I did not know that what I had experienced was assault. And I was still holding a lot of guilt. And I needed closure. I was always someone that needed closure, and maybe I still am a little bit, but I've learned that not every situation warrants closure. And for some reason, my ex-boyfriend came back around, and like we would casually talk. I remember I apologized for a lot of things. I took responsibility for a lot of things. I even told him one time, like, I forgive you. There was this one time where it was one of those posts where it's like, what's your biggest regret or something? And like I remember mentioning like, oh yeah, dating my ex-boyfriend who cheated on me with a 14-year-old, and his brother found that. He said I was lying. He said that that was not true, that I was making everything up. So it turns out my ex-boyfriend didn't tell anybody what he did. And then he came back and he messaged me and he said, Allie, I can't believe you. I thought you forgave me. You know, I can't believe you would really say something like that. You know, that really hurt me. Can't you just let anything go? Can't you let things be in the past? And it's like, no, I actually can't. You know, I can't let this go, especially now that I'm retelling everything and I'm realizing what happened to me was assault, and that I was taken advantage of, and that I was oh my god, I can't say that word. That I was coerced into giving you a hand job when I did not want to, and I did not feel comfortable with, and it just goes to show that, like, it really speaks volumes that the only person that I felt comfortable doing anything with was Garrett, and that I actually like wanted to cry after we did anything because I was so traumatized by what happened to me without realizing that it was like trauma, you know? I remember telling my sister like, oh my god, like, you know, I actually enjoyed this. That should have been a huge revelation to me. Like, it's because you're with the right person. It's because he did not pressure you. It's because he did not force you. It's because he let you do it when you wanted to. Garrett still, to this day, even if we start an intimate activity and if I stop it in the middle, he says okay. He says, you know what, that's fine, honey. It's okay. There's other times. That just goes to show that what happened to me wasn't normal and it wasn't okay, and you shouldn't have to do things with your partner to bring you closer together. You shouldn't have to be thinking, oh my god, when is this over? Or I just want this to be over with. That's not the type of mindset you should be having in a relationship, because that's not love, that's abuse. If I could go back and give 17, 18-year-old me the biggest lesson in her life was to not even go there, not even get into that relationship. Like, listen to your gut. That is my story. It was a bit easier to tell this time around. The first time I told it, I was crying, but I think I just have to remind myself that yes, that happened 10 years ago, but yes, I still deserve to tell my story. I just want you to know that if you're in this type of relationship, just know that there is a way out and that you can be free from this abuse, and that's not love. If you are being made to do an act of intimacy or anything against your will, that is not love, that is abuse. There will be someone out there who will want to be with you, who will want you to be with them whenever you're ready. To just hang in there, okay? Just know that it might be bad right now, but there will be a light at the end of your tunnel. I also just want to preface that just because something happened years ago, and just because at the time you might have said, okay, or you agreed to something, but then later on you look back and you realize that that's not okay, and that you tried to pull away, you tried to stop it, but it continued, that is abuse, that is assault. I remember I almost was trying to like gaslight myself in a way. I remember I kept trying to tell myself, oh yeah, that didn't happen, or oh yeah, I had agreed to it. But you remember feeling disgusted, you remember feeling that that's not okay, and you remember saying no at one point or multiple points, and like you pulled away. It doesn't matter, even if you said okay and then you wanted it to stop in the middle, or like you wanted it to stop towards the end, doesn't mean that it was okay, and that doesn't mean that you should blame yourself. If you were with the right person, they would have agreed and they would have said, okay, we can stop, we don't have to continue this. But only abusers and narcissists want that type of activity to continue, and they don't see anything wrong with it. Thank you for listening to my story. If you did watch the entire thing, thank you so much, and I will talk to you later.